We're live. What's happening, Fresh Baked? A good Friday to you all. It's been a long time since I've looked forward to Friday. Normally the days just blend together and I don't even care one day or the other. But this week I really am looking forward, or have looked forward to this Friday. Excuse me one sec. Got to make sure my phone was muted this time. All right. So as the title of this live stream suggests, I wanted to talk about sort of the ripple effect of what happens when a place like Disneyland closes. We see a lot of these things in vacuums, as it pertains to the virus and lockdown and, all the things that we're going through. In each of us sort of processes how it affects us personally only, or our own worldview, our own narrow scope. But, this whole thing is very pervasive. The ripple effect is more like a butterfly effect, if you want to call it that, in the sense that, what's happening to us, what's happening affects a long continuing chain of other things. For example, in the case of Disneyland, Disneyland represents essentially half of the entire economy of the city of Anaheim. And that is a place, the city of Anaheim, that already includes a professional baseball team just down the street. They represent a significant portion of the city of Anaheim's economy as well. And the reason why I thought of this, the reason why I wanted to talk about this today, is because it's relevant to a discussion that happens often whenever Disney starts to lobby for things, either with the city of Anaheim or with unions, or what have you. And Disney tries to, use their weight to get what they want. Let's check with some comments. We've got one from Evan Layton. It says, "We are all interconnected. What happens to anyone has an impact on us all." We seem to lose sight of that. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, definitely, Evan. That we have this narrow vision, and I get it. I mean, I do too. There are things happening. Okay, I go to Target the other day, and I forget what I was there for. Band-Aids. I go to Target for Band-Aids, and I'm doing a little general shopping and a little general, wandering around. And I walk by the sporting goods, and I see that there's all the golf section at Target. Now, it's not a big section, the golf section. It's not a big section. It's half an aisle, but it's empty. Why is the golf section empty at Target? Well, supply chains. Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a hockey team, too. But it's supply chains. Somebody out there has stopped shipping golf balls and demo sets and gloves to Target. Why? Something has stopped. And wherever it is that has stopped, people work there. People earn a living through that little link in the supply chain. And then that company goes out of business, and it just keeps going and going and going. And then wherever they get their stuff from goes out of business or is losing business. There's no bikes at Target. Yeah, we talked about that before. I thought it was because everybody was riding bikes. No, it's not because everybody's riding bikes. It's because they're not replacing the bikes that are sold. This, by the way, Fresh Baked, let me go ahead and take this little moment to get on my soapbox. This is why we need to support local business. This is why we need to spend every possible dollar you can in your own neighborhood locally. Now, it doesn't, I mean, preferably small business like mom and pop, but even if it means going to the store like Target or Walmart or Home Depot and buying your stuff there, buy local. Because what's happening and what's going to continue to happen, and it's going to get worse and worse, is that we're going to wind up buying everything from Amazon, and that one dude is going to have all the freaking money. Okay? And nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. You've got to spend local. All right. So, yes, I don't live far from the Roger Dunn golf shop in Santa Ana. I want to talk about Disneyland, though, because there was a conversation. Do you guys remember the Eastern Gateway? Give me a hell yeah in comments if you guys remember the Eastern Gateway. That was a project to expand the parking, build another parking structure across the street, across Harbor Boulevard. Yeah, we got a couple heck yeahs. I should have said heck yeah. Yeah, this is Disney Channel, isn't it? This situation brought to mind the drama that circled the Eastern Gateway. So a lot of you remember. Thank you. I wasn't exactly looking for golf balls. I was just noticing it, and it triggered a thought in my mind. But I digress. Quick primer on the Eastern Gateway. Disney had plans. They had drawn plans. There was concept art. They had already started to level grade the earth around the site. Everything was going forward. They were going to build a new parking structure across the street from Disneyland, behind, the Denny's and the Captain Kidd's buffet, and all that stuff behind the hotels. They were going to build another parking structure, a bus hub. It was going to be a hub for people to get dropped off on buses. And then you would walk over a bridge, over Harbor Boulevard, and into the park. And they would have a bag check and everything on the other side of the street at Harbor. And it basically extended the Disneyland bubble to across the street. And then it died. And it died via a combination of lobbying, I guess, with the local government, both internally and externally. There are certain sectors of the Anaheim government who are not pro-Disney, and there are certain businesses in Anaheim that are not pro-Disney, or at least they weren't with respect to this particular case. The issue that local businesses had on Harbor Boulevard was that they were going to lose a whole bunch of foot traffic, potentially. This isn't confirmed. They thought they would lose a whole bunch of foot traffic that usually walked in front of those stores, the guests that were on their way to Disneyland. And instead of walking in front of those Harbor Boulevard businesses and then crossing the street, cross Harbor and into the Disneyland entrance, they were going to take that bridge that began behind their businesses, and they were going to take that bridge over Harbor, completely skipping any contact whatsoever with any of the businesses on Harbor Boulevard. And so they lobbied the local government, and the local government said, yeah, you know what? We don't like this. We got to go to Plan 2. And Disney just... So Disney just canceled it. They just said, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to do it. And they built a different parking structure. They built the Toy Story Pixar Pals parking structure. And that parking structure, by the way, was something of a middle finger, I think, to the city of Anaheim. And it completely killed that whole thing. I'm going to get to some comments now. Let's see. Stephen Wixom, I think the Eastern Gateway would have been just fine if Disney would have agreed to better access to Harbor Boulevard. I think that there was talk of building. Well, you can't build stairs up into the bridge, but you might be able to build stairs down from the bridge back to Harbor. But really, I don't think that it's not really possible. The bridge is because if you're going to do a bag check on the Harbor Boulevard side, then you have to secure every guest that comes through there. Any guest that's crossing that bridge has to have already had their bag checked, unless they don't do bag check and they move the bag check to the other side where it traditionally is. But that bag check is supremely taxed already with just the bus traffic from Toy Story and the drop-offs and the incoming other buses. So that was already an overly taxed bag check, in my opinion. But then again, no, it would have been about the same. That's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to connect the bridge with Harbor Boulevard while also maintaining a secure bubble, as it were. I like that word now for this. Mel's Bakery wants to know, how could you be a business in Anaheim and not pro-Disney? Fair question. Fair question. Brett Jeffrey says, I didn't like the idea of walking that great distance from the proposed parking lot to the main gate. I did something like that years ago, and it was a long way. It's about this. I would say it's still a shorter walk than that which you take from Mickey and Friends or Picture Pals to the front gate. I feel like it's about the same. Okay. So the question that I want to ask, or the conversation that I want to have, is how do those businesses feel today? Every single business that's on Harbor Boulevard is closed. Now, a lot of these are restaurants that normally would be open if they exist. It's fascinating. If the taco shop and the pizza shop and the IHOP and the Denny's, if those establishments existed just a half mile down the way on Harbor Boulevard on the other side of Orangewood, let's say, or the other side of Catella, actually, yeah, right around Catella, they would be open. But because they exist in a place where there is no parking, you can't park really on the street. I don't even know if you can park behind. That's a good question. But because of this, because they exist in a place where you can't stop your car, they're dead. Those businesses are dead. Pizza Press is still open because it's on the other side of Catella or Orangewood. I get those two streets confused all the time. It's only those businesses that are in that one stretch of harbor in between Catella and, well, not Ball. Really, yeah, everything. I guess, yeah, everything all the way to Ball is dead. How do they feel about Disney now? I guess is what I want to know. If you were a business on that stretch of Harbor Boulevard, and these are the businesses that protested the bridge. On the one hand, you're basically praying at the altar of Disney, right? You have to be. You're totally dependent. You are whatever it is, that creature that lives on the bottom of a whale or a shark. That's you. If you're a Harbor Boulevard business, that's you. You're that thing that feeds off the underbelly or the belly of a whale. And these are the guys who were kind of going out of their way to shake their fist at Disney when the Eastern Gateway was happening. Meanwhile, you've got the city of Anaheim who I have a quote. This is from a councilman. This is somebody who, represents the city of Anaheim. He's an Anaheim city councilman. And this is a quote from him. It's as if somehow we should feel fortunate that Walt Disney chose Anaheim. Here's a fan, or here's somebody who's not a fan of Disney and is representing the city of Anaheim. The city of Anaheim is operating at something like $100 million deficit. It's not the governor, no. It's local government. It's local city level government that I'm talking about. They are now operating at $100 million deficit, I think, or close to it. And all of that is due to the fact that Disneyland is closed. And I wonder if they're second guessing their anti-Disney position these days. I wonder if Disney is just sitting back and saying, mind you, Disney wants to be open. But does this give them more leverage? Because you've got a bunch of taxes that aren't being paid by purchases, by sales. You've also got a bunch of constituents, residents, citizens of the city of Anaheim, because I would say a large percentage of the employees who work at Disneyland or at the places that are around Disneyland that are affected by Disneyland's closure are also residents of Anaheim, and they're not spending any money. They're going broke, and they're not, they have to be propped up. They have to, there has to be relief for some of them, unemployment, all kinds of things. I'm going to catch up on some comments. Lord Puskin says, I hate the way the city of Anaheim treats Disney. They're the reason they're an actual city. Well, okay, so that's a fair point. I don't want to get on a thing where I'm like, they should totally be beholden to the city or to Disneyland. The city should. Everybody, it's all symbiotic. This world, this little small world of Anaheim, it's all symbiotic. As I was mentioning, there's the creatures that feed off of everything else, and everything depends on each other. But the city of Anaheim was literal dirt and trees before Disneyland opened. So, at least give them that. At least pay your respect to whoever, because there are councilmen, people who work for the city of Anaheim, who make their living because Disney exists. They don't get paid by Disney, but their world exists because of Disney. All right. Daniel Lutz wants to know, what about the McDonald's on Harbor? That place was busy 24/7, and now it's been closed for months. They closed prior to the shutdown because they were doing some remodeling, and they just said, screw it. We're not going to, everything's on hold. I think they just stopped remodeling, and then when things open up again, they'll finish the remodel, just like Disneyland is doing with their construction. That's all that is. They have no reason to open anyway, because have you seen Harbor Boulevard at like 3:00 in the afternoon? That stretch of Harbor Boulevard, it is depressing. I forgot to charge up the laptop. I'm getting yelled at by my computer. There we go. Mary Cordry says, sadly, I think this was just the longer way for some of those harbor businesses to die. If the Eastern Gateway had happened, at least they could have planned for it. I feel like there could have been, I don't disagree that they were going to lose some foot traffic, just for the reason I suggested earlier. There's no parking on the street on that Harbor Boulevard. So where are those people coming from? Those guests, the traffic that's happening between Ball and Catella is foot traffic. It's not vehicle traffic. So yes, they do have a sort of, I don't want to call it a right, but Disney does need to be mindful of that. But they could have been a little more flexible. There could have been some sort of compromise on this, I'm sure, because listen, this is what's happened. We never know what we have until it's gone. And I was alluding to this when we were at Downtown Disney last weekend, and I don't think there's a single one of us that could say that we didn't take Disneyland for granted. I mean, you don't want to come out right and say it, but I mean, really, what did we think of? What did you think that something like this was even remotely possible? I could see Disneyland closing for a day or two for some national catastrophe, but 4 months or more, 6 months, 8 months, a year? Who among us could say that they took, who couldn't say that we took Disneyland for granted just a little bit? And that includes the city of Anaheim and the businesses on Harbor Boulevard. Antonio Lopez says, okay, but would the convention center or Garden Walk have any traffic without Disney? Interesting question, Antonio. The Garden Walk is dead. And I don't mean is dead because of COVID. It's been dead for years. And Disney is right there. Disney is right there. But Garden Walk is still dead. It's so dead that they couldn't sell it for the cost of the loan that they held against it about, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. The people who owned that property, the Garden Walk property, that wanted to sell. They wanted to get out of the Garden Walk business. Everybody thought the Garden Walk was a slam dunk. This is at a time when they built the Garden Walk. It was at a time when these outdoor malls were just all the rage. They were building them everywhere. Irvine, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Tustin. We got one in Tustin. They were building them everywhere, and they were all doing really well. And they thought, oh my God, we got to put one next to Disneyland. This is going to be the most outrageous place ever. Garden Walk never happened. It never took off. Vacancies all over the place. When the original owner tried to get out of it and they tried to sell the property, they were going to sell it at cost. All they wanted was to break even from their initial investment, and they couldn't get a buyer. Eventually it did sell, I think, and it probably sold for under market. I don't remember. But whoever bought it then, they tried to sell it, and they had the same problem. And by the way, we've had this whole conversation with respect to Disney buying that property. Disney's not going to buy that property. They're not ever going to buy the Garden Walk. And it has to do with some of the lease restrictions for that piece of land and the hotel across the street. They cannot demo. If Disney were to buy Garden Walk, they couldn't demo it, from my understanding. Same for the hotel. The reason why that hotel got built, I don't know if you know the hotel I'm talking about, but they recently built one just behind the Garden Walk. And they're building more, actually. The Garden Walk is expanding. It's crazy. Garden Walk is dead. It's dead. Okay. Yeah, there's a whole conversation that we had about this on Fresh Bake Presents not long, or a couple of years ago. Somebody had mentioned that's why Anaheim wouldn't give Disney the hotel tax credit if not on Harbor. The city of Anaheim and Disney have been going at it for a few years, to the point where Josh D'Amaro, when he was running the Disneyland property, he voided an agreement that was pro Disney about not collecting any sort of I think it was an entertainment tax. I can't remember, for 30 years. And he said, you know what, forget it, you guys. We're not gonna hold you up to that, because he wanted to wash his hands of being the bad guy in that relationship. I think that's just the way I interpret it. Anaheim has burned Disney more than once, I think. Let's see. Kay Garofalo wants to know, wasn't Anaheim primarily against the Eastern Gateway because Anaheim owns the parking garage and Disney wanted to retain rights to the Eastern Gate? No, the city of Anaheim does not own the garage. The Disneyland owns that. You're talking about Mickey and Friends, right? The city of Anaheim paid for it. They paid for it, but Disney owns it. But now, you're right, though, because the parking garage is a major problem for the city of Anaheim. Well, at least for some of the folks. The guy whose quote I read you, he's one of the people who is just burns his. He's really upset that they're not getting any revenue from that parking structure. The city of Anaheim, that is. Okay. Garden Walk has nothing interesting at all. Boring for an outdoor mall. I would tend to agree. It's a little too. What's the word I'm looking for? It thinks it's more than it is. It needs to stay. It needs to stay in its lane. But the problem with, more importantly, I think, is that for whatever it is, it's too proximate to Disney. The people who are going to the Garden Walk, if they're looking for a night out, would just go to Disney. I feel like you need this kind of thing. It's too big a place to be right next to Disneyland. It needs to be a half mile further away, I think. Mark Bram says, David, if Anaheim didn't have Disney, the city would be just like the city of Orange, Fullerton, and Garden Grove. I would actually say it's probably behind all of those cities if it doesn't have Disney. The city of Orange has a lot of character. The city of Fullerton has a lot of history. Garden Grove, they've got a water park, but the Garden Grove kind of sucks. So maybe Anaheim would still be ahead of Garden Grove. And by the way, I am fully capable of making these assessments. I've lived in Orange County for 50 years. I know these cities pretty well. And I love Orange. I think Orange is lovely. Fullerton also in its own way, in a lot of ways, has a very nice like old town. I do enjoy Fullerton. Not all of it, but a lot of parts of it. You could say that about a lot of cities, I think. Terry Myers, it took Garden Walk 9 years to break ground. It was doomed from the start. It was just it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't know why. I guess I have my guesses, but it's a case study. Garden Walk is a case study on, what works and what doesn't. Somebody really needs to look at that and figure it out. I wish I was smart enough to do that or had the time or the inclination. Jay Munji agrees. I feel like Garden Walk is too close but too far to Disneyland, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those, that's for sure. But what are you going to do? Like, if you're in town, if people are visiting, well, no, Disneyland's a locals park, though. Maybe it's this. Maybe if I want to go to an outdoor mall, I'm gonna go to Main Place. I mean, not Main Place. The Block, or I'm gonna go to Irvine. I'm not gonna go to Garden Walk because both of those places are better. Orange and Fullerton are also college towns. That's true. Yes. The Orange Circle is fantastic. I love the Orange Circle. It's where Adam used to live. We spent a lot. I used to live just down there from. Just like 2 blocks down from the Circle as well. I love Orange a lot. The school system sucks though, which is why we moved to Tustin. The school system does suck in Orange, but it's a lovely town. I'm just going to catch up on these comments. Yeah, John Reynolds says Garden Walk is not the right spot for nightlife, and that's what it's trying to be. It's trying to be a destination. And I don't know if, I mean, I guess that's what Irvine Spectrum is trying to be. The Spectrum is trying to be a destination. The Tustin Marketplace or the Tustin District are trying to be destinations. Less so. The district kind of sucks, to be honest. The Tustin District is not good because there's hardly anything to do there. I mean, literally, there's nothing to do at the Tustin except for go to the movies and eat. Garden Walk is no City Walk. Well, no, it's not. The City Walk is like 3 times as big. Yes, Downtown Disney is an outdoor mall, and maybe that's why Garden Walk doesn't work because they've already got that. But I don't know. That could be one of the reasons. Maybe there's a myriad of reasons why it doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, Downtown Disney is still different from Garden Walk because it's on property, technically. I guess no, it's in the bubble. Yeah, it's in the Disney bubble. Yeah. I am not talking about the packing house. No, I actually just visited the packing house recently for the first time. That's kind of neat. I like the packing house. David, do you think Garden Walk will ever be taken down or at least turned into something else? Not for a while. No, they're gonna hang on. They're gonna die on that hill for a while, I think. So okay. So let's get back to that conversation. Do you think that when Disney reopens, should there or will there be a change in the conversation between the city of Anaheim and Disneyland and the local businesses? Do you think, because I feel like there is still demand for another parking structure. I feel like they could still do something with that land that they own back there. They could still make something happen. You know, it's funny. One of the thoughts that I had that Disney could have as a reaction to the Harbor Boulevard's businesses rejecting Disney's plan was for Disney to just simply close the harbor entrance and make everybody come in from Ball Road. And then see what happens, right? Because they could do that. They could easily do that. They could build a hub in the downtown. Okay, so the parking lot for downtown Disney, you could build another parking structure over there. Let's say Pumbaa. Put another parking structure in the Pumbaa lot. And then you convert the downtown Disney parking lot to a transportation hub of some kind that's in addition to what already exists for Pixar Pals and Mickey and Friends. The kind of transportation hub that would replace, for city buses, for Uber, for drop-offs from, friends and family, other forms of public transportation. You could drop off in this hub where the current downtown Disney parking lot is. Make all that traffic go through the backside of the park, and everybody enter from that side, and just completely close off the Harbor Boulevard entrance, and just sit back and watch everybody freak out. Watch everybody freak out. Oh my God. Can you imagine? I don't know if that's feasible from a what do you call it? Social engineering perspective. I'm not a social engineer, so I don't know how possible or workable that kind of thing is. Maybe it doesn't work at all. I don't know, but I would love to see the fallout from that. That would be interesting to watch. Nathan M6911 says, yes, close harbor, freeze them out, and then buy all the land in a few years. Hello, third gate. Fair point. That I've already seen these comments today, and it's something that you hear all the time. Why doesn't Disney buy this property and that property? Why doesn't Disney buy the City Walk or Garden Walk and all those hotels? And the simple answer to that question is it takes two. It takes a buyer, a willing buyer, and a seller, a willing seller. They can't just come in and claim eminent domain and say, I'm going to buy your property from you, and here's a fat check. McDonald's and Mimi's Cafe and IHOP and Denny's and Captain Kidd, they all have to say, I want to sell to Disney. And they don't want to sell to Disney because they were making all kinds of money. They were making all kinds of money. That McDonald's was the busiest McDonald's in the country, perhaps. So why would they want to close? Why would they want to sell? Why would you sell the golden goose, right? But that's kind of what triggered that thought that I had for this conversation is, now what do you think? Now what? But yeah, to Nathan's point, freeze them out. They've got nothing. They've got no reason to stay now. And then you could buy out. Boy, if Disney were in the market, that's how you do it. If you want to talk about diabolical plans, if they decided, okay, that's it. We're building another gate here. We're going to make this place Walt Disney World West. All right, where you've got this enormous property where, there's land as far as the eye can see, and they can do whatever they want for miles. They'll never achieve that at Disney World, but if they wanted to at least start down that road, that's how you do it. You close off Harbor Boulevard, and then all of those businesses die. They all die. Okay. Evan Layton says, all Disney would have to do is make suggestion, and the uproar from the harbor businesses and the city council would be insane. Indeed, it would. And they are vocal. They will talk. You can count on that. Weather Eye says, I bet they've already considered it. Well, yeah, but they don't. See, that's the thing, is that Disney doesn't want to be the bad guy. They're not even in the third gate business right now to begin with. I probably should have prefaced that little sidebar there with the fact that Disney's not in the third gate business. They weren't before COVID, and they certainly aren't now. My understanding, the word that I was hearing from Disney management is that any expansion plans that they were going to have in terms of growing Disney parks was all going to be all international, nothing domestic for quite a while. It could be decades before we see any kind of domestic expansion. And that was true before COVID, and it's certainly true now. But I'm just saying, if they had, fancied themselves in the third gate business, that's how you do it. They might even be able to do it right now. Disney is constantly buying properties when they can. So they own this sort of discontiguous chunks of land throughout Anaheim, land that you don't even know they own. But if you were to look at like a topographical map and then color the areas, it would look weird. Some of the places that they own, like, holes in a jigsaw puzzle. So when a business decides it doesn't want to be in the Harbor Boulevard business, I'm pretty sure that in most cases, Disney would jump in and try. The only times they don't is in cases like the Garden Walk or that hotel land, where I'll just talk about that hotel for a second. That hotel, in its purchase agreement, its lease agreement, I don't know who they bought it from. I think it's with the city. They are required to operate. They can only run a hotel there on that land for like 30 years or more, I think. So whoever were to buy it, if they just chose to sell, would have to continue operating that hotel for X number of years. They couldn't just demo it and build whatever they want. There are agreements in place. And this is true for a lot of businesses. There's a lot of, contract writers like this in a lot of, real estate transactions. It's not as easy as buying and selling property. It's very, it's very particular. And the same is true for the Garden Walk. And basically, it comes down to this: Disney is not in the hotel business, and they're not in the outdoor mall business, apart from the ones that are on their property, like Walt Disney World Resort or the hotels on Disney proper. They don't want to own and operate a hotel off harbor. They don't want to own and operate an outdoor mall at the Garden Walk. They're not in that business. There's just not, even if it does return a dividend in 30 years, that's not something that they want to do. Okay. Closing harbor might not be legal for fire hazard reasons. What? I'm not sure what you mean, Christopher. I'm not suggesting they close the actual street, Harbor Boulevard. I'm talking about the harbor entrance to Disneyland. And Disney owns all that land. They could do whatever they want with it, I think. Yeah, Sammy Land says the occasional empty lot. If you see an empty lot, it's very likely that Disney owns it. I'll say that. Because Disney just wants to own the lot, and then they don't want to develop it because that's an expense that they don't need to incur. They don't want to put something on there because they're just going to want to tear it down whenever it comes time to put those pieces together. When they can start connecting those dots, then maybe they will. But they're just, it's a weird situation. The land around Disneyland, it's a very weird situation. Kelly Millinger says, I really want to see another Disneyland hotel. Well, they're building one. They're building a fourth wing to the Disneyland Hotel right there facing Walnut. Miguel the MG Gomez says, could you do that? Put together and share with us an updated overview of the Disneyland Resort and all the pieces of land they own around it. I could try, but I don't know if I'm savvy enough to find out exactly which properties they own. I have a vague idea of some of them, but not all of them. So, somebody did that, I think, on Mice Chat not long ago. Maybe I'll look into that. Or I'd have to figure out how to read between the lines to figure out who owns the property. But basically, I think it's you got a reasonable chance of being right if you assume if there's an empty lot that Disney owns it. Just like I forget the name of it, the hotel that they bought and tore down when they were trying to do the Eastern Gateway. There's an empty strip of land. There's a hotel, empty land, hotel, Disney owns that empty land. Mr. Smallworld says Disneyland needs a moderate or value-priced hotel on property. There's no such thing. Guys, if I had one, maybe I think this might be, if I was to say what is my number one bone of contention with the Disney company, the one thing that really, kind of angers me a little bit or upsets me is that they charge $700 a night for a hotel, on property. I mean, that should be illegal. $700 a night? I don't care. And the hotels aren't even that great, are they? Really? I looked at Grand California not long ago. It was $500 or $600 a night. Grand California is nice. How do you justify charging $500, $600, $700 a night for a hotel? Honestly, how do you justify that? It's upsetting. Busy Bee Granny Rose is correct. She says Disney purchased the RV park on Ball and Harbor, and longtime residents had to move. It's a cast member parking lot and auditions lot. That's correct. They were talking about using that as an expansion. Maybe they did already. I thought they might build an actual parking structure there, but that is one of the pieces of land that they own. Is that it used to be an RV lot or an RV lot on the corner of Ball and Harbor, catty corner to Disneyland. Scott Zucky. Okay, here's something interesting. Scott Zucky says, oh shoot, man, this thing scroll and I lose it. Where'd you go, Scott? Okay. A value Disneyland hotel in Garden Grove accessible by bus could be cool. Tokyo has the Ambassador Hotel a ways away. One of the things that's an interesting development, and we may still see fruits from this effort by the city of Garden Grove. The city of Garden Grove has observed the relationship with Disney and Anaheim deteriorating from a distance, and they have said, we're cool. Garden Grove, this is the city of Garden Grove. They said, we're cool. Come on over here, build yourself a little Disneyland in Garden Grove, and we'll let you connect it and do whatever you want. One problem is, obviously, this has to go through the city of Anaheim to get there. But maybe it could just be buses or something. I don't know. But the city of Garden Grove has said, we want to be in the Disneyland business. And they even tried to, that water park, I think they may have tried to do that with Disney first. I don't know that for sure, but it sure seems logical. Okay. Right. Nathan M6911 says sometimes they use other corporation names to acquire property. Yeah. Certainly it is standard operating procedure for Disney to not let you know what they own. That's been a thing since they bought the Disneyland property. They weren't clever enough, and that got out quickly, and the prices went up super fast, which is why they went to greater measures when they started buying the Florida property. But eventually that came out too. I thought I saw. Regina Layton says Disney depends on the Harbor Boulevard hotels to fill the need for budget-friendly hotels. That's true. That is true. And that's that symbiotic nature of the conversation that we were having before. Those hotels need Disney, obviously, right? But Disney needs them too, because you do have out-of-town guests coming in, and not all of those out-of-town guests can fit or afford, one or the other, can neither afford nor fit in the 3 Disneyland hotel towers and Grand Californian. They can't all fit. So they need these off-site hotels to take up some of the incoming business. Now, that's not to say that Disney can't build their own hotel somewhere else. They can do that. They can do that. And I think that's what the city of Garden Grove is trying to get them to do. Somebody fill me in. What does a budget? They don't even call it budget hotels anymore, do they, at Walt Disney World? But what do one of those rooms go for? Like the Pop whatever resort. What do they call it? Pop Century? I don't know. I know Brent Jeffrey says people actually pay it, and I cannot even. You stay for 5 days or 4 nights. That's $3,000 just for the hotel. Good heavens! There's no way. Carousel Inn, yes, thank you. Okay. James Acton wants to know, where's the land in Garden Grove? Garden Grove. Okay, so I mean, most of the land is developed. The land where they built that water park was available for quite a while, and other land might come available. There's a lot of sort of, I would imagine that there's city-owned land that they would be definitely willing to sell to Disney. That they're currently, the city owns the land and they're leasing it to a strip mall or something like that. But there's land that I'm sure that the city of Garden Grove owns. I don't know who can afford those hotels, honestly. 100 to 160. That's today? Yeah, the Wolf Lodge is the water park. You can get a pop hotel for today for 100 to 160. That sounds crazy. That really? I thought those were more as well. I looked it up once, and it was like 200 or 300 a night. How far is Garden Grove from Anaheim? It's the next city over. Let's say, okay, so if you were to leave Disneyland and head towards, the Toy Story parking lot, right? And you keep going past the Toy Story parking lot down Harbor, and when you hit, I want to say Orangewood, I think Orangewood is the border, is the Garden Grove Anaheim border. Some of you who know the area as well might be able to correct me on that, but I think Orangewood separates, Orangewood and Harbor is one of the border points. Yeah. Well, Shannon Marie says the water park is a Great Wolf Lodge, yeah, and also crazy expensive. I wonder how it's doing based on price and proximity to Disney. Good question. I don't know. I've never actually even been in there. That would be I would love to like vlog from there one day, but that would be really awkward. Super awkward. Even if I had a hotel room there. Chapman, that's what I meant. I didn't mean Orangewood. I meant Chapman. Yes, Chapman is the border. Thank you, Arch Fox. Where the Target is, right? Chapman and Harbor were the Target, and the fish place. What's it called? The Joe's Crab Cooker. That's right there. That's the border, right? Garden Grove and Anaheim. Good fun, Gardner. There's good fun in a lot of places in Orange County. Great Wolf is about the price of a Harbor motel per night. Well, that's not bad at all. Yeah, somebody said $100 a night. That's not bad. You can't get a Motel 6 in Orange County for $100 or for under $100. I don't think. NorCal Gal says, I miss living in Orange County. It's a great place. You know what? I would like to go to NorCal more. Yeah, there's an Outback, Red Robin. Well, Joe's Crab Cooker is there too, isn't it? Aren't they all there? Do you think Run Disney will ever come back to Disneyland? Not while we're in this COVID environment. No, they're going to do everything virtual. Guys, we got 500 people here right now. That's pretty cool. These streams are doing okay. Buy Knotts. You know what? I don't want that to happen. There was a time when I would have wanted Disney to buy Knotts, but I like Knotts just the way it is, I think. I would like them to do more Calico stuff, but I like Knotts being what it is. Did I finish my office? More or less, yeah, I guess. I didn't paint the whole thing, though. I have never seen, Kay Garofalo says, the Great Wolf Lodge commercials are funny. They don't even mention the water park, just the experience of staying there. I have never seen a commercial for Great Wolf Lodge. I've never seen the inside, not even a picture. I should look into this. What kind of theme park vlogger am I? You know what I mean? I've been so Disney focused, and I've been trying to break out of my Disney bubble ever since the shutdown happened. I've been trying to okay, David, we got to, there's more than just Disneyland. So I gotta do a little homework on the Great Wolf Lodge. Evan Layton, let Knotts be Knotts. Amen, brother. Amen. Now, I wouldn't go so far as to say Cedar Fair is doing a great job with it. I think Cedar Fair, the great job that they're doing is letting the people who run Knotts run it the Knott's way, as opposed to Cedar Fair going in there and saying, we're going to make Cedar Fair decisions. Because I already know what Cedar Fair's version of that park looks like. And it's that Knott's B with, Accelerator and Riptide and whatever the heck those rides are called back there in that little carnival area that they have. Cedar Fair would do very well to just let the Knott's people run Knott's the way Knott's should be run. What kind of ride do I think Knott's is missing? I don't know if they're missing a ride per se. I just want more of the Knott's feel. It doesn't necessarily have to be Ghost Town, but maybe like a place to do, like a show, a nightly show or a daily show for that matter, more than just that little area that they have where they do the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. But something like a place to do like an event for people to congregate once daily. Let's see. Wacky Soapbox Racers. I remember that. Oh my gosh. Timothy Wong says, these are delightful talks, David. Thank you for doing them. Well, you're welcome, Timothy. I'm glad that you're enjoying. I enjoyed the part where I talked to the comments. I enjoy that. I like this idea of having a topic and then this sort of exchanging thoughts and opinions. Kate Garofalo says, I went to Taste of Calico and made me realize how I took cast interactions are at Disney. Never really did it at Dines, but loved it at Knott's or Disney, I think he meant to say. I love cast interactions. Both at the Knott's ones are great, but Disney's great at it too. I just want more. Great Wolf is not taking reservations until October. Rooms range from $180 to $500 per night. Wonder if they charge during peak non-COVID season. Yeah, they must. Let's see. Disney Girl Mel says, I've never been interested in going to Knott's, but now seeing all your vids from there, I kind of want to go. Dude, I'm seriously, don't sleep on Knott's. It's a great value. The annual passes are cheap. It might be the best value in the state as far as annual passes go. Matter of fact, I'm sure it is. Because I know that Universal, their prices are pretty high. They're approaching Disney level prices at Universal, and you don't get near as much park at Universal as you do Disney. I think Knott's might be the best value out there. And that's actually a video that I was hoping to do or planning to do, is ranking all the annual passes in the state, and kind of giving a pros and cons and value rating them. Nobody wants to talk about Six Flags, Antonio. Brian is hungry. Wants to know, did you discuss the fact that Disney canceled their reservations through August 29th? I didn't discuss it, no, but that is the thing but they've been doing that for this whole time. They've been progressively canceling reservations every I think they do it in 2-week chunks. So I'm not. It doesn't surprise me. I don't read anything into that. It doesn't mean anything per se. People might think that, okay, so they're taking reservations for September 1st to believe that that's when they're going to open, but they were taking reservations for July not long ago. So yeah, it doesn't mean anything. They can just as easily just say, okay, now we're going to cancel everything from September 1st through the 15th. There's no new owners at Knott's. Did Cedar Fair? The Cedar Fair didn't sell. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Six Flags, mostly because, roller coasters and me don't get along. And that's pretty much all you get. There are roller coasters. I don't think they've even heard of a dark ride. But also the terrain at Magic Mountain, it's literally built. It's not a clever name. It's not called Magic Mountain because they built it in a valley. It's called Magic Mountain because they built that sucker right on a mountain. And it's, you're just like, yeah, all over the place. Yeah, Cedar Fair still owns Knott's. Let's see. Are theme parks selling passes right now? I don't think. Not in California. I don't think they even are in Florida, for that matter, now that I think about it. Okay, well, I guess we're there. It's 5 o'clock. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us today on this wonderful Friday. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. As for me, I've got some plans for the weekend. I think we might going to be trying to go to City Walk. I'm not sure when, but at some point this weekend. And then, I don't know, stay tuned to Fresh Baked. We got some stuff planned. We got more videos coming. I'm not sure. We already put out the Knott's 3. And I've got another plans for a new top 10. And who knows what else. So stay tuned to Fresh Baked. Subscribe here. Subscribe at Fresh Baked. Subscribe on Royal Dorks. Follow us on Twitter at Fresh Baked Disney. That's fresh with no E. And we'll see you on Monday, guys. See you guys. Fresh Baked.